Texans return to the facility in anticipation of one of the biggest games of the DeMeco Ryans era. Will the Ballers pick up the tab? Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Ayy. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not.
Who's picking up the check? We know who we usually expect to pick up the check. What the hell does that have to do with Derek Stingley and Nico Collins? I'll tell you in a sec. It is the locker room, #1 source for Texans digital content. We're getting back in the mix after the bye week. It is a hell of a game that's going to take place in 6 days. It's a difficult game. It's one of the more difficult games of the year. Seattle right now is kind of the toast of the league when it comes to dark horse picks. They're playing very well, but they're actually pretty banged up in the secondary. But their D-line is so good that right now they've been able to overcome it. And they're one of the better teams in the better conference right now, the NFC. And the NFC is just more loaded than the AFC. I want to let you know this video is brought to you by the greatness that is Sleeper. Best sports app in the game. Not even close. Right now, if you want to play, you can get the $20 free entry. Shout out to the people who have hit me up and said that they got in the higher, lower game. I also just like the app as a whole. I follow them on all their socials. They stay on top of the games. They seem to be having fun. It's not very manufactured. It's just like kind of a bro talking ball. And I think that's kind of what this app is. It's my scoring app now. The higher, lower, I get in the mix on. The Texans have not posted yet. But if you want to get in the mix, $20 free entry, and you get a 100% match up to $100 when you use the promo code Locker. Big fan of Sleeper. Shout out to them for the love and all they do. And where I'm leaning probably once those come out and we put the picks out, I'm probably going to lean towards over Nico Collins yards. I'm going to lean towards over higher Woody Marks receptions, and I might lean higher Nick Chubb rushing because I think it's going to be so low that you might have a shot at it. And I might even lean lower Jackson Smith and Jigba receiving yards. And I know a lot of you that have been following this channel ever since it started a few years ago, you're saying, wow, that's the first time that you've ever gone against Jackson Smith and Jigba. You wanted Jackson Smith and Jigba with that 12th pick. You've been kind of the guy driving the Jackson Smith and Jigba hype train. I have, but I also think Derek Stingley's pretty good, which brings me to this. Will the Texans' biggest ballers, will the Texans players who get paid the most money, will those be the guys that pick up the tab on Monday night? There are two core pieces of this team that DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio have paid. And that's Derek Stingley. They made him the highest paid corner at the time, I think by $5 million. And Nico Collins, who they gave an extension to, that actually looks pretty team friendly. They've paid both of those guys. Anyone who's ever been out to a restaurant, you know that when you go to a nice dinner or a big event, a lot of times the richest person picks up the check. The richest guys pick up the check. The ballers pick up the check. When it comes to this Texans team and guys that you feel are already elite at their positions that are going to be here for hopefully a long time, these are the two guys. Will Anderson hasn't gotten paid yet. We don't know how long Danielle Hunter is going to be here. These are the two guys. CJ Stroud's not there yet. But it's Nico Collins. It's Derek Stingley. Can they pick up the checks? And if you look, and we'll get to the strengths on weaknesses a little bit later, if you look at where the opportunity is and where the need is, these two guys are going to be very dependent on. Jackson Smith-Njigba is one of the toasts of the NFL right now. He's one of the best. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Statistically, he is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Can Derek Stingley follow him around? We've seen him do it before. Now, this would be a hell of a test for him. Probably be an inside-outside type of thing. But you paid him like he's the top corner in the league. He's going against the best receiver in the league right now statistically. And Derek Stingley follow him around. You take away Jackson Smith-Njigba, what does this Seattle offense look like? There's a lot of things to like about Seattle. You look at the stats, the run game, statistically, you'll sit there and you'll say, it's not as great. But they're setting up by far the most elite play action game in the entire league. We'll hear DeMeco Ryans talk about that in a second. So maybe you can look outside the numbers and say, okay, they got a decent running back duo. They're kind of setting that up. Can Derek Stingley follow around Jackson Smith-Njigba and shut him down? And on the other side, Seattle Seahawks secondary is depleted. We don't know who is going to play and who's not. But best case for scenario for them, you have someone working the way back that's going to match up with Nico Collins. Worst case scenario is you have someone who shouldn't be able to hold his jock. So can Nico Collins take advantage of that? A few weeks ago, we were talking about the biggest issue with Nick Caley was he wasn't getting Nico Collins involved. DeMeco Ryans kind of called him out and said, we got to get Nico Collins involved. We got to throw him the rock. And they kind of started doing that. Like this offensive explosion we saw started on the second and 32-33 where Nico Collins moved the chains against the Titans. And then they scored a few touchdowns in that quarter, and then they dominated the dog-butted, depleted Ravens, and Nico Collins set the tone there. He's been the tone setter this year with those two previously mentioned games, but in the biggest games of the DeMeco Ryans era, he's also been an extreme tone setter as well. Go back to the Indianapolis game, Week 18, 2023. First play of the game, Nico Collins, 80-yard touchdown. Set the tone. Dominated throughout that game. Look at Derek Stingley. That same year. Playoff matchup. Browns. After Amari Cooper did what he did to the Texans in the regular season, Derek Stingley followed him around. He shadowed him, and he completely shut him down. Last year, Derek Stingley against the Chargers, 5 pass deflections. 5 pass deflections for Derek Stingley against the Chargers in the playoff route. We've seen a lot. We've seen that these guys, whenever called upon to carry the load, they've been able to do it. It's been no problem. By the way, that same Chargers game, Nico Collins, 122 receiving yards. So when you've needed dogs and you've needed the ballers, the highest paid guys, you follow the money. When you've needed them to step up, they've done it. Can they do it against Seattle? It's stacked up to where one needs to and one damn near should with Nico Collins. Derek Stingley might have his hands a little bit full. But we've talked a lot about the offensive line, and we'll still talk about the offensive line. But these are the two guys who, in the DeMeco Ryans era, they've taken it home. They've gotten the job done. And that's probably what you're gonna need to happen to win this big game that could completely flip your season in a good way. The table's set. You got 3 noon home games after that. 3 teams that have looked pretty vulnerable lately. One of them's already beaten you, Jacksonville. You can't go 0-2 against Jacksonville. That's going to be the third part. San Francisco, they might be more beat up than Baltimore was. DeMeco knows them pretty well. And then you got a Denver team that's been up and down. So Nico and Stingley are going to have to do what the ballers do, the guys who get the bread. They're going to have to pick up the tab. I think if you're a Texans fan, you feel pretty confident about it. Now, the question then becomes, can the other parts of this Texans team perhaps screw it up? And that's where you get concerned. But make no mistake about it. These 2 guys, they're 2 of your biggest dogs.
I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog.
And you're going to need them Monday night. DeMeco's been able to count on them. We'll see what happens with Stingley and Nico. But they both got opportunities. They both got different challenges ahead. It is a locker room #1 source for Texans digital content. Let's talk about Texans Turf. Shout out to Texans Turf, the greatness that is my man Dan doing his thing. He just got back from Spain, and you know what he did when he got back from Spain? He recovered briefly, and then he went right back on the job. Did an entire small soccer field. Now, that's one thing he can do. He can also do a small backyard like he did mine. And he's going to give you the best price. He's going to give you the best attention to detail when it comes to drainage and all that stuff. It's always going to be green. It's always going to be clean. It's pest proof. There's no mud. There's no dirt. And it'll be the best thing you do. I can't wait to get out there by that fire pit with my turf. We're close to it. Might be able to make it happen this weekend. Who knows? But if you've been thinking about getting in the turf game, I did the shopping for you because I was a customer before me and Dan even started partnering up with this type of stuff, and let him do for you what he did for me. Or you can do something different. If you want a putting green, play area, all that, they got you covered. Shout out to Texans Turf, TexansTurf.com. Dan is the man. There is zero doubt about that. Let's hear DeMeco Ryans talking about what we just talked about, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Here's DeMeco Ryans giving some love to JSN. And I guess Aaron Wilson called him Jackson Smith.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
And then DeMeco had to kind of laugh a little bit. But here's what he had to say about arguably the best receiver in the league right now.
JSN has done an outstanding job this year for Seattle. Darnold has found a nice target to throw to, and he's made that entire offense go. Whether you're covering him or not, he's making explosive plays game after game. He continues to show up, and JSN, he's definitely having a Pro Bowl caliber year. He's doing an outstanding job.
Yeah, yes. And are you going to let Stingley follow him or not? DeMeco would not say that. But common sense tells you yes. And Stingley is definitely the guy to talk to this week. And I think Stingley might be up for this challenge. I don't know how much he pushes for it, but he's definitely built like that. And nobody needed this bye week more than Derek Stingley, who's been playing hurt all season long. It's been perfect. So we've got to see what the hell that looks like. Another matchup that could potentially be a big problem for the Texans is play action. Seattle, 15 plus yards on play action passes is by far the biggest in the league. Shout out to the media type in Seattle that brought this up when I was kind of digging into what Mike McDonald was about. By the way, he's boring as fuck. Excuse my language. He is a boring guy. He might be more boring than DeMeco.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
That's on me. But yeah, he is a boring coach. And DeMeco's not quite he's not quite in the Kings of Comedy or anything like that. But man, Mike McDonald was boring. I felt like I was going to drive off the road listening to that on the way to practice today. Anyway, I asked DeMeco about the play action, and I found this very interesting because a week ago today, y'all know that the ones that follow this channel, I kind of asked Nick Caserio to defend the Patriot offense. And it was very funny because he went really in depth, and you could tell that he loved the Patriots offense. Well, not too long ago, DeMeco had the Kubiak offense, which he was real familiar with. And listen to him talk about this offense and why it's so effective in play action. You can tell Caserio is the one who wanted Kaylee, and DeMeco has fascination with that Kubiak offense. A lot of respect for it. But here's what DeMeco had to say about the play action.
Seattle's been they're by far the #1 team in the league, play action pass. What do you think makes them so good at that, and what goes into defending that?
And for Seattle, they're good at the play action pass game because Kubiak's done a good job wherever he's been as a play caller. He's done a really good job of establishing the outside zone scheme. Right, and with the outside zone scheme comes the keepers off of the outside zone action. So he's done a really good job of marrying both run game and passing game, meaning they both look very similar. So the play action pass game works because of the offensive line and how they come off the football, right? How they make the run look exactly like the pass. It puts the second level defenders in a bind where are you stepping up to defend the run, or can you key it and diagnose it quick enough to understand that it's pass and now I need to drop in coverage? So they've done a really good job starting with Kenneth Walker in the run game. He's a really, really good running back in this league, and he's done a really nice job. And when you have him running the ball the way he runs it, all right, guys are going to commit. And once you get guys to step up 2 or 3 steps off, and now Darnold's done a good job of getting on the edges, making good decisions down the field. And he's had a lot of guys open in those play action passing concepts. That's why they've been successful as well. A lot of guys are wide open.
All right, there you go. So you can tell he likes it. Very in depth, big challenge, especially with the way that Sam Darnold's playing. By the way, Sam Darnold's better than CJ Stroud right now. That's another thing. We'll get into this a little bit tomorrow. I know that's kind of polarized. I'm not just trying to throw that and bury it, but we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Sam Darnold's better than CJ Stroud right now. It's been better. He's been better than CJ Stroud the last 2 years. Now, it's also a little bit of a cautionary tale. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself and doing tomorrow's show today, but he was kind of written off, and then all of a sudden he's kind of found himself, but he's better than him right now. I don't think you can argue it. I mean, maybe the surroundings are better, whatever, but I mean, he's playing better football than CJ Stroud, which is crazy. You know what else is crazy about Sam Darnold? I always bring this stat up, and people usually are fascinated by it. Sam Darnold's younger than Joe Burrow. Think about that. We don't really think about it that way. But Sam Darnold's better than he's better than Joe Burrow. How about that? Let's go to the chat. I'm really
Swarm.
you'd be mad about the CJ Stroud thing. He's better right now. He's playing better. Period. Playing better. You can't argue that. He's playing better. From point A to N, I like CJ. I'm rooting for him. He's going as good as your last game. He's a AFC Offensive Player of the Week. From point A to N says, I don't know with rain likely during the game, the weather, blah, blah, blah. Texans don't usually do well in the elements. Yeah, they don't usually play well cold. I don't think it's going to be freezing. I think it's going to be 50s. I actually think it's probably going to feel great for them. Someone asked me who has the advantage in that. I really, neither of these teams have run the ball that great. Both have good defenses. The Texans have the better secondary. Seattle's got a really, really good D-line. Their inside linebackers are kind of suspect. I think that's like the biggest complaint with the fan base. I was listening to the Seahawks Collective, Texans Collective, by the way, with myself, Stoots, Sean, and Reggie going to be on tomorrow. Special time, normal time, but special day, 6 o'clock. Usually it's Mondays at 6. But I guess they don't like their linebackers. But I really don't know if there's like a significant advantage in this instance when it comes to weather, rain. I don't think Sam Darnold's great in bad elements either. So I don't know that there's anything like that. 21 Savage says, if they win, I'm chugging the ACV myself. All right, I'm going to hold you to that. I'm assuming you're going to be at Spanky's, and hopefully all you will be at Spanky's this Friday. Sharpstown, 3 o'clock. Myself, Stoots, will be there from 3 to whenever. John McClain will be there. Can't wait to eat that chicken fettuccine lasagna. I might even eat some wings and pizza. I'm actually not going to eat before on Thursday. I'm going to go 24 hours without eating. I'm going to pig out at Spanky's because I like the wings, I like the pasta, I like the pizza, I like the beer, I like the Hurricanes, the new Hurricane. Yeah, I'm there. But if you do that, I'm going to hold you to that, 21. I'm assuming you're going to be there again. So whether that means we got to pull you up on Reaction Tuesday after the game, whether I got to pull you up on post game at midnight, I'm going to hold you to that because we don't stand for a lot. We stand for covering the Texans with the balance of journalistic integrity and shtick. We stand to being consistent doing that, being the voice of the people, and we stand with holding up your part of the deal when it comes to an ACV bet. So don't threaten me with a good time, brother. From point A to N, just don't want to see any fumbles. I feel like we've been good not fumbling. So could I interest you in a stat? The Texans actually have only fumbled twice this year. And it's kind of going to make some people throw up in their mouth, speaking of apple cider vinegar. But the only 2 times that the Texans have fumbled this year have been basically to lose games. Like you can make a case they were to lose games. It was the Dare Gumbawale against the Rams, and then it was the Nico Collins against the Jags. They haven't fumbled besides that at all. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like they had like I can't say it's not a fumbling problem because if you fumble in those situations, it's a serious issue. But they actually have not fumbled outside of those 2 fumbles, which is pretty interesting. On the suit, my man Preston. You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
I'm assuming we'll see Preston at the draft. You usually go to the draft party. Fridays are tough for a lot of people. The 3. What's up, big dog? Season starts now. Yeah, season starts in 6 days. It's gonna be crazy, man. I know you're a late night guy. So yeah, this time in 6 days, we will be doing a post-game show. Perhaps reacting to a dub. And spoiler alert, if the Texans win this game, I think they make the playoffs. If they win this game, I think they make the playoffs. Said this earlier on SNL. It's the type of game you're going to have to win to get in. It's a type of game you're going to have to win to stay in. And it's a type of game that can flip stuff like just in a crazy way as you have the table set for you for those 3 consecutive home games. So, yeah, it's a hell of an opportunity. You can start over. You can start over, give yourself an 11-game season. 500, let's start over. And right now, you're 1 game behind 5 teams in the loss column that have 2 losses. There's only 7 teams in the AFC. I talked about the NFC being better. There's 7 teams in the AFC that have winning records. 5 of those 7 have 2 losses. The Texans have 3 losses. So it eventually evens out once the bye happens. They're probably a couple games ahead of them in the win column. But if you win this game and then you have that set, it's a hell of a layout. No doubt. Evan bringing up the Sam Darnold ghosts. Sam will see ghosts again come Monday night. Would be interesting if that happened. Let's hear DeMeco talking about the other thing that is getting a lot of attention, the Seattle D-line, which I think is extremely an advantage for Seattle over the Texans offensive line. I'm sorry. I like what Cole Popovich is doing.
Pop, lock, and drop it. Pop, lock, and drop it.
This is not a street fight that they want. It's here, DeMeco.
The interior piece with their tackles, Murphy, Reed, Williams, they're really big guys inside, strong, It's hard to move those guys inside, so it starts there, and then on the edges, really smart players on the edge with Nwosu, with Mafe, with all the guys that they have, DeMarcus Lawrence, like all those guys done a really nice job on the edges. Their entire defense line, I feel like that's the strength of their defense, right? And it's going to be a challenge for us to handle their front. It's all going to start there. Any team that's been able to move the ball versus these guys, you have to do a good job versus their front. And they're good in the run game, also in the pass game with the stunts that they run. They don't have to pressure much because they get a lot of pressure with their front four guys. So, be a huge challenge for us, challenge for our offensive line this week.
Yep. Big. And these are some badasses in like so many multiple ways. So many multiple ways. Byron Murphy, very familiar with his game. Ass kicker, whether he's at the 1 tech, whether he's at the 3 tech, just a complete ass kicker. I think that's one of DeMeco's dreams. I think if there's anything that DeMeco would love to have on his defense, it's a really good defense. Sometimes you just run out of assets. You have to spread it somewhere. He would kill for a Byron Murphy type of guy. Best interior D lineman on the field on Monday night, not even close. Then you have Leonard Williams, pretty underrated player. Underrated player. And he's another guy that can give you fits. And he's a guy who he's known for being extremely smart. And Seattle as a defensive line, Leonard Williams right now has 3 sacks. I think Murphy has 4 or 5, if I recall. That's 2 guys right there that are going to be a problem. Yeah, Williams has 3. And Byron Murphy has 4.5 on the inside in 6 games. So you have that. And then you have the OG, a guy that's been pretty underrated, DeMarcus Lawrence, who's, you want to talk about grown man kind of trying to take the young kid to the woodshed. DeMarcus Lawrence is that guy. This is a big battle for the Texans offensive line. And I know that DeMeco's getting asked a lot of questions about how the offensive line has improved and all this type of stuff. I would tap the brakes on that because this is going to be their biggest challenge. And I think there's a couple of there's 2 strengths on weaknesses that I think each team can take advantage of, which we'll get to in a sec. But first, let's hear DeMeco loving up on Titus Howard. Now, this was an alley-oop. This wasn't unsolicited. This was basically like, Titus Howard's been great. Talk good about Titus Howard. I kind of felt, though, there might have been some shots fired at Laramie Tunsil here. Am I being messy? It's possible. But I kind of feel like there might have been some shots fired indirectly from DeMeco in the direction of the former number 78.
He's been consistent. That's what O-line play is about. It's about playing consistent. It's about playing within yourself, not getting overextended, but doing your job down in and down out without a lot of glory, without a lot of pats on the back, right? It's a very selfless position, right? And he's done a really great job throughout this year so far. He's improved. He's done a great job of anchoring the right side for us, and very proud of him, not only for his play, but Titus has also grown as a leader, right? Seeing him become more vocal, right? Communicating amongst the offensive linemen, right? That's what I'm most proud of with Titus. Besides the play, it's how he's grown into that leadership role, and that's what we needed from him.
All right, there you go. He's more of a leader. He's vocal, blah, 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 a.k.a. probably easily influenced, but yada, yeah, there you go. So that's DeMeco talking about that. We'll get back to the chat. We'll also get to the 2 extreme strengths on weaknesses that we got to get to, but first, you know where this is going. TDECU. I love TDECU. They help you do good things with your bread, and they also make you look good when you're spending it with that fresh Texans debit card. The new logo, everything like that. If you want to check it out right now, just go to tdecu.org/Texans. It's got that pretty new logo. You see CJ Stroud doing his thing. He represents TDECU. So does SNL. And TDECU is also a proud sponsor of Reaction Monday, which will actually be on Tuesday, where credit is due by TDECU. We'll have that on post-game show right here in the locker room. And we'll also have that on SNL Reaction Monday, which is actually going to be Tuesday now. Just bear with me. But if you want to take advantage of that debit card and you want to save 15% at the Texans online shop, you can do that no matter what you want. 15% off. Show your Texans pride. Score savings while doing it. Visit tdecu.org/Texans. Get your card today. Membership required. Insured by NCUA. And it is a pretty looking debit card. Shout out to the greatness that is TDECU. So strength on weakness. I want to get to this because I think both teams have perhaps opportunities for weaknesses on strengths and strengths on weaknesses on Monday night. Now, I've already talked about the big ballers perhaps doing their thing, picking up the tab, the dogs, Derek Stingley and Nico Collins.
I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog.
But one of them we've already talked about. Strength on weakness number one, and this could be the biggest one, is the Texans offensive line versus the Seattle D-line. I'm not buying the Texans winning this type of fight. I think you can overcome it. And I think that perhaps you can get to where Nick Caley can call the game, whether it's getting the ball in Nico Collins' hands quickly, where it's keeping him off balance. Now, he does know Seattle a little bit. So there is a little bit of history with Seattle, brief, but there's a little bit of history there. But if you're just going to line up, if this is going to be like last year where you're just expecting the Texans offensive line, and I would love to be wrong on this. I would love to be wrong on this. Matter of fact, I'll commit 3 ounces of apple cider vinegar if we can say definitively. 3 ounces for the postgame show. Hold me accountable on this next week. If we can say definitively that the Texans just beat the Seahawks defense's ass, defensive line, offensive line on defensive line, I'll drink 3 ounces of ACV. I just don't think it's going to be like that. I think this is one of the better D-lines in the league, and I think the Texans right now, the offensive line has problems. And the other thing that I think about this is the stunts. I watched every practice, training camp. The most educational practice that we had was at the Greenbrier, where you can get closer to the offensive line, and they couldn't handle a stunt. Seattle stunts a lot. Like top of the league, they stunt. And they have guys who are capable of kicking your ass one-on-one. We already mentioned that. That concerns me a little bit when you talk about this Texans offensive line. Are they better than last year? Yes. But are they ready to go to a really good team's place, line up against them, and be able to handle the stunts? That's going to be to be determined. But we saw what they did to Seattle last week. Or not Seattle, to Jacksonville last week. So that's number one when it comes to strength on weakness. It's the Texans O-line versus Seattle's D-line. The next one, and this is in the Texans' favor, Nico on whoever. Whichever corner they put on Nico Collins, he should be able to have his day. It doesn't matter if Witherspoon's back, which there's been like confusion over that. They're playing Shaq Griffin too. Like Seattle's secondary is depleted. Corners are depleted. Even Warrior's playing good. We liked him during the draft. Don't know if coverage is his strong suit. Like Nico Collins should be able to feast, and we've seen him do it in big games. So Nico versus whoever. And honestly, if the Texans offensive line has their hands full, run some quick tosses to Nico Collins to keep the D-line on their toes and keep them away from your quarterback. So that's the thing. We talk a lot about the offensive line, D-line, all this. The Nico Collins getting the ball should not be dependent on that. Find quick ways to get him the rock. And then if you keep him off their toes, let him do what he does. But he has set the tone for you the last 2 weeks. In big games of DeMeco Ryans era, he sets the tone there. So let the baller pick up the check. Whoever the hell is checking Nico Collins does not matter. There's no one that can check Nico Collins on Seattle's team. There's a whole D-line that can stop him from getting the rock if you have an incompetent offensive coordinator who's dependent on the offensive line and throwing the offensive line out there. But last I checked, Bobby Slowick Bobby Slowick is not here. Why?
Damn it, Bobby.
Because they said things were going to change. Prove it. Prove it on the stage. That's what they got to do. Bobby Slowick ain't here. Prove it. Prove it. Again, join us at Spanky's this Friday, 3:00 to whenever. We'll get to the other concerns about the Nico, the guy's not named Nico. But let's go to the chat first. Get into some other stuff. I think people hold me accountable, rightfully so. You ain't never hate. Swarm. All right, so Cam says he's screen recording this. Screen record it. No, if the Texans O-line beats their ass, I got the 3 ounces apple cider vinegar. That's a shot. That's a healthy shot right there. Rich Boy Jay says, Landry, how can you believe in the Colts but not Ed Ingram's shaking my head? Well, Colts are 5-1. You got good tight end, good running back. I'm a Shane Steichen guy. The Ed Ingram thing is weird, man. Like I'll just confess this. I'll just be honest. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. Watch this. These are my confessions. I think he's been fine. But I keep hearing this and seeing these stats about best guard in the league, PFF. That's just hard for me to imagine. Now, maybe it's the Kenyon Green change of scenery thing actually having some substance and existing. So maybe that's part of it. But I'm not comfortable sitting here talking about that level of play. I want to see it against a team like Seattle. But the PFF stats are insane if you believe in such a thing. The whole PFF argument, the stupidity of it is so annoying too. Like, it's obviously a resource, but if you watch every Texans game, you can look beyond the PFF rankings. Like, Tavier Thomas was never the best slot corner in the league. That was whack. But I think it's a good substance. Players have gotten whiny as hell about it, and so have some announcers. I've heard like some radio hosts and like complaining about it's like, dude, you don't even know what it is. You don't even need to be talking football. But like the absolute nature of the PFF argument is just kind of an eye roll for me. Yeah, it's not the gospel. It's a good resource, generating some discussion. Don't get it. But when Ed Ingram's the number one guard, I'm just not taking it right there. Forever Brooks Records on the chat. You ain't never hate. Swarm. Can you ask CJ why he stopped doing his rookie year TD dance? He hasn't played as good. He hasn't really played as good since he stopped doing it, has he? Like, he hasn't. Has he played like he did his rookie year? That might have something to do with it. I think it was also him and Tank. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think a lot of times it was him and Tank doing the dance. So that might have something to do with it. Tank wasn't really playing very well until that Chiefs game, but before that he was a non-factor. But no, I'm going to ask him why he stopped doing his dance. I would feel like a goofball doing that. No disrespect to you. I don't know if there's a time for that, but I think that would probably be why. Just hadn't played as well. Hadn't been feeling it like that. Because last year he had like low confidence for whatever reason when he was talking about not having fun. Jacory on the chat says, got a feeling this Seattle game and the last Colts game will be the most important games of the season. Hey, if the Colts game is up there with this Seattle game, then I mean that means that some good things happen. So whether that means winning Seattle against Seattle and figuring it out or going on a streak after losing, yeah, that would mean some pretty nice things happened. Madman Madsen says the game will be 2 gold for Fairbairn. Yeah, 50. Yeah. That's a good point. We know Fairbairn how he is with the cold weather. He might be bundled up. He might have like 4 pairs of long johns and like one of those full coats out there in that 50 degrees. You are damn right about that. He does not like that cold weather. Outlaw said it feels a little similar to the Rams up front. Yeah, I mean, that's a good comparison. I would say that Seattle's better, but yeah, Rhonda, you're going to upset people, Rhonda. She says, my money's on the Seahawks to win. Don't trust CJ reading their defense and making the right decisions. Shoulder shrug. It's fair. It's fair. Cam says, unpopular opinion. This better not just be a normal ass opinion. I closed my eyes after you said that because a lot of people will say, unpopular opinion, Tom Brady's the best quarterback of all time. All right, here we go. Unpopular opinion. O-line holds up. Defense helps us scrum out a close game. And Woody comes back for fantasy owners. I think with where you are right now, that might be a pretty popular opinion. Might be not common. It's definitely popular. Official Casper, what's your sleeper picks this week? So sleeper hasn't dropped the Texans yet, but I'm leaning towards Nico over yards, Chubb over yards, because I think it's going to probably be in the 30s, and then Woody Marks over receptions, and we'll see. But I'll post them here. Maybe they drop tomorrow, the higher lowers. Sometimes they wait for injury reports, but I will definitely post them, and hopefully you're riding along, taking advantage of that free $20 and using the promo code Locker for the 100% match up to $100. I'm sure you are. You know the deal. Rich Boy J on the soup says trade idea. Ed Ingram in a 6 to the Jets for Brees, Garrett Wilson, and Quinnen Williams. Thoughts? I have to clear some salary cap space for that. But yeah, I would definitely take that. Silly man. Playing some EA Sports here. Playing some EA Sports. No doubt. Maybe Ingram is decent. Maybe he is. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it at that level. The other question, though. So you feel good about Nico Collins. You feel good about Derek Stingley. You know Nico Collins is a tone setter. But here's my question. These Texans secondary receivers. Now, we saw Xavier Hutchinson do his thing the last time the Texans were on the field. Couple touchdowns, including that back shoulder fade. We saw the start of the fourth quarter after those touchdowns.
Captain Kirk has arrived. I repeat, Captain Kirk has arrived.
We saw Christian Kirk do his thing and get a little bit loose. We saw Jalen Noel score a touchdown and do the Ray dance. That was a week after we saw Jaden Higgins get in the end zone. But there hasn't been just a consistent stretch of consistency with the number 2 wide receivers, which brings me to this question. Can you trust any non-Nico wide receiver to come up big? What if the Seahawks, let's say the Seahawks realize what we realize, and that's no one can hold Nico Collins. So what if they decide to just take Nico Collins out of the game, which I don't know why teams don't do more often, but what if they just decided and they said, all right, we're going to take Nico Collins out of this game? Who eats? Who eats? It's a legitimate question. It should be Christian Kirk. He and CJ had chemistry in camp and in the preseason. It should be Christian Kirk. Do you trust Christian Kirk, though, to come through like that? I can't right now. Can't right now. It would be nice. It would be nice to see Christian Kirk do his thing. I'm interested to see what his sleeper number is. Because I think Xavier Hutchinson's still I think he's established himself as a nice 4 receiver. which is fine in his third year as a 6th-round pick. Ideally, you want to see Christian Kirk establish himself as the guy you trust, and then you'd like to see these rookies progress and get more opportunities post-bye. That's always what you want to see post-bye. You want to see something that you didn't see before it, whether it's your team playing a lot better, whether it's someone getting out of a slump. That's what you want to see. And that's what they need to do. You didn't draft these guys. These aren't late draft picks that we're talking about. Jaden Higgins was the first draft pick you made. You traded back. You took him. Nick Caserio was offended when Jonathan Alexander asked him, hey, what'd you like about him? Caserio's like, would you watch him play? Yeah. Figure something out and get him involved. Tell your boy Nick. Tell your other Nick C. Nick. And then Jalen Noel was a luxury pick. You didn't draft him to be a return man. He was one. A lot of people loved him out of Iowa State. One of the bigger freaks at the combine. You got the confidence to do the Ray dance on your first touchdown in Baltimore when you're completely embarrassing them. He's got to be a bigger part of the offense. Like with all this talk about the offensive line, like getting the ball quick to some of these guys, especially Noel, with how electric he is in space, it would probably be in your best interest. So that's what the Texans need to do. You got these receivers, and we've yet to really see someone establish himself as the consistent number 2 guy. You got to help Nico Collins out. You got to help CJ Stroud out. And these guys, you can use them to where you can get the ball in their hands quickly. But that's what you got to do. Last year, you found stretches where Nico was your only guy. There were injuries. You addressed that. You like Christian Kirk enough to trade a draft pick so he didn't get on the market. You like Higgins enough to take him when you took him. You like Kirk enough to do what you did with him and bring him in. I meant Noel. Some of these guys, someone's got to step up. And it's not just the players, but Nick Caley needs to figure it out too. And these long developing routes that we saw a couple weeks ago, you got to stop that. That was a hell of a drawn up play to Jalen Noel. Jaden Higgins, when you've called his number, there's been some explosive times. Christian Kirk, you're kicking the Ravens' ass. You decide you want to get him involved. Maybe that was just like a long-term thing where you just need to see it happen in a game. But you can't have an offseason where wide receiver is one of your biggest needs. You invest this many assets in it, and all of a sudden, the only guy that you rely on is the guy that you had before. You can't do that. You got to figure something out there. And that's the number one thing that can happen for this offense after the bye, is that they establish top to bottom depth at the wide receiver position. Now, last time they were on the field, we saw some signs. Last 5 quarters, we've seen signs. They got to keep it going when it matters. When you got this stretch that you got. When you have 2 weeks, Nick Caley, to think about some things and think about how to make this offense better and get it more involved. You have one of the best effing defenses in football right now. The offense needs to catch up. You're not going to get up here like the defense. But if you can get somewhere in the middle and you can get more balanced, then you can make some noise. If we're sitting here asking this question 3 weeks from now, we might as well start talking draft. So you got to get that going. You got to get it. You got to get someone else going on the offense. Period, point blank, end of story. Got to figure it out. Reason for optimism for sure. Big opportunity. Right time for the bye week. But Nico needs some help. CJ needs some help. The offensive line needs some help. And you got to follow the investment. It's not too much to ask for these wide receivers 2 down to start helping the cause consistently, not just against the dog-butted Titans who just fired their coach and the dog-butted Ravens, who are one of the worst teams in the league based on the guys they got on the sidelines. Got to get it going. That's on Nick Caley. That's on Nick Caserio. they got to figure it out. DeMeco Ryans has a crush. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. He is absolutely obsessed with Jalen Petrie. He's a big fan of Jalen Petrie. Today, he took it far enough to where he said that Jalen Petrie's a better football player than he was. Come on, DeMeco. Let's be serious. Well, let's hear DeMeco love up on old Jalen Petrie.
Jalen is playing lights out for us. He is all over the field. He's asked to do many different things throughout a game, and he's the one guy who's very cerebral enough, smart enough to go out and handle whatever we ask of him defensively, whether that's, blitzing, whether it's playing in coverage, whether it's playing back deep, like what all three levels of the defense. Jalen provides us that flexibility to be able to move him around wherever we need to put him each week. And so to have a player who is as smart as he is and as reliable as he is, it really gives you a comfort as a play caller. It gives you comfort to be able to know that if we want something to happen, hey, you turn Jalen on. And when he's on, he's going to find a way to make plays in the backfield. He finds a way to get the football, right, the way he's attacking the football. I love to see that continue. He's doing a great job of being a true spark plug for our entire team.
Yeah, he loves him. He absolutely loves him. And I think the Jalen Petrie thing is, I think he has his limitations in coverage. Very polarizing player, like in this community, in the SNL community, because I think there's limitations. But I also think the effectiveness of Jalen Petrie, and I even said this when he was getting benched by DeMeco in 2023, he's a good football player. Like, he's a useful football player. And I think the success of Jalen Petrie, like, as much as DeMeco wants to gas it up, I think DeMeco Ryans deserves as much, if not more, credit for the way that he's used him and the way he's hidden those weaknesses and maximized those strengths. So, you talk a lot about what Petrie can't do. There's a lot of things he can do. And I think DeMeco Ryans has done a good job. You talk about complementary football. A lot of times you just look at it as, well, what did the offense do compared to the defense? What did the defense do compared to special teams? Mix it all in. I mean, I think it's been very complimentary how DeMeco Ryans has used Jalen Petrie and the strengths in front of him, D-line, all that, and the strengths behind him, the secondary, have kind of helped it out. So I think it's like an alternate example of complementary football that we always talk about. He loves him some Jalen Petrie. He also loves what the defense is doing. If you don't believe me, let's hear him.
Our defense has done a really nice job because of the players and the work that they put in. We have outstanding players, outstanding men, not just players who go out, they work the right way. Every single week, every single day in practice, they work together. And when they play together, it's a tough unit to beat. Right, guys, we're on it mentally. We're not making mistakes. Like, we make people have to, make plays to beat us. And we know that'll be the challenge this week, right? Just because we're covering them and we're in position. Seen JSN many times, right? Guys are in coverage. They're on him. And he still goes up. The ball is up. You got to be able to make a play and compete on the football. That'll be the challenge this week. But I'm really proud of where our guys are. It's been a great start, but you have to keep working. You have to keep plowing because we know teams are going to give us their best shot.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we really haven't mentioned it much this year, it really hasn't been I don't want to say it's been an extremely down year. It just hasn't been as much of a explosive year. Is that the word I want to use? We haven't seen as many plays from him. And that's been Kalen Bullock. I thought Kalen Bullock was one of the 5 best players in camp. And we really haven't seen too much from him. we've seen some lapses. Now, maybe those were CJ Gardner-Johnson. And by the way, I don't know if y'all saw the news, but he's already gone in Baltimore. So maybe that didn't help. Maybe the secondary just needed to get rid of CJ Gardner-Johnson, and it was kind of addition by subtraction. But this is an opportunity for Kalen Bullock. That's a guy who's very capable of making very big plays. And you look at the way that Sam Darnold, his history, I know history could be a thing of the past, but you look at the way that Sam Darnold has been known to give you chances to intercept passes. There's that. Also kind of likes to work that play action and take some risks at times. So it would be nice to see Bullock get on the scoreboard. We've seen Lassiter get on the scoreboard, and we've seen Stingley get on the scoreboard. Be nice to see Bullock do that. And the other thing is, it's going to be a big test for MJ Stewart. MJ Stewart's gonna have his hands full when it comes to, like, when you talk about play action. That's that eye discipline that DeMeco always speaks on. And you talk about these slot guys, JSN, elite in the slot, playing a little bit more outside now, and Cooper Kupp might not be what he once was, but one of the better slot receivers of recent history. So it's going to be a big challenge for the safeties, not named Jalen Petrie. That's really perhaps the key to the game. Maybe the linebackers. Because when it comes to the play action, those are the people that are most impacted by it. So it's going to be a big challenge. I do agree with the point on the chat from Frank.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
He says on the flip side, the Seahawks and Darnold are nervous that they got to face the Texans on Monday. Yeah, it's the best defense that they faced. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So yes, I would say they probably are a little bit concerned and a little bit nervous about that. They know what the defense is about. Evan on the chat says Jaden Higgins can be Drake London.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
I think that skill set's more appropriate than the Nico one. I know the Nico measurables were similar, but I don't think Jaden Higgins plays like Nico. I just think they have similar, like, athletic traits. But even then, Nico looks like more of a dog on the field when he has the ball in his hands. But yeah, I like that comparison more, especially in the red zone. And it took Drake a little bit of time to kind of get where he needed to get. The kid's been playing, like, Jaden Higgins, like, football has been his main focus for like a half decade. He didn't start fully focusing on football until I think 2021, something like that. I know, and then COVID kind of threw him behind because all the camps weren't open and the recruiting and stuff. So he's relatively young and unpolished, but yeah, I don't know if we're going to see like Drake London production this year, but who knows? It's going to be fun. Brandon Flores says it's a must win no matter what. I think it's a big one. There's no doubt. I don't mention Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter because I expect them to do what they do. But Nico and Stingley, it's really going to be, does DeMeco decide to let Stingley shadow JSN, and do they get Nico the rock and not have him dependent on the offensive line? So those are the things where we're at. The other question, we'll talk tomorrow about CJ Stroud and Sam Darnold. Well, I'm going to ask you this question. Put it in the comments. Do you think the offensive line has actually turned the corner? Or are you a little bit hesitant with this matchup coming up to fully buy in on that? You think the O-line has turned the corner? Like, do you have all the faith in the world that this version of the Texans offensive line can go to Seattle and do their thing? I think you can win despite them, but I ain't betting on that. I am betting on being at Spanky's this Friday at 3. We want to see y'all there. Best menu in the game, best prices, drinks. I think there's 6 college football games this Friday. Live broadcast at 3. John McClain's going to be there. I think Mr. 713 Ruben said he's going to be there, although I don't. Sometimes he said he was going to be there last time. I don't know. Y'all know Ruben. He's been on YouTube for a while. You can never really trust him, but a lot of people will be out there. Hope you will as well. Let me know how you feel about this game. I haven't been this pumped for a game in a long time. Maybe it's because I'm a night owl. Maybe because I think it's just a good challenge. Maybe just because I'm glad that the season's back because the bye seemed too long. Either way, whatever I think, whatever it is, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Shout out to Sleeper. We'll lay out the Sleeper picks tomorrow. I think the higher lowers will drop, but take advantage of that $20 free and the promo code Locker. Appreciate y'all for rolling through.
We top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.